Hello, welcome to the Let's Talk Kids Health Facebook Live Show, Episode 7. I'm Dr. Narissa Bauer, your host. I'm a behavioral pediatrician and blogger of Let's Talk Kids Health. The concept of this show is to disseminate information about behavioral health and wellness for children and families everywhere. Each week, I plan to bring you topics and guests to help me advance this mission so that we can all talk together. Remember, if you are viewing this live, you will have the opportunity to post comments and ask questions of my guest. Please use hashtag live now and let us know that you're here. The replay will be immediately available when we end the broadcast. And if you're watching the replay, please use hashtag replay so we can make sure we answer questions at a later time. And if you don't want to miss future episodes or maybe check out the past ones, subscribe to my YouTube channel, Narissa Bauer MD, and follow my blog Facebook page, Let's Talk Kids Health. Okay, so now to this week's guest. Stephanie Drewry is the owner and founder of Sprouts Cooking School located in Carmel, Indiana. Stephanie is passionate about bringing kids and families together in the kitchen, teaching new takes on favorite recipes, introducing fresh herbs, and expanding palates. Her goal is for every child to build a foundation for a lifelong love of cooking, to inspire and empower this generation of foodies, and to encourage families to get into the kitchen and cook with their kids. Hi, Stephanie. I am so glad to have you on the show.
Hey, Narissa, thank you so much for having me.
I am so excited. You know, I remember before we went live, I was telling you we met when I brought my daughter's Girl Scout troop to your house.
Oh, back in the very early days.
I know. So maybe we might want to start with, sharing how did you get into this business and, how did you discover your love of teaching children how to cook?
Yeah, of course. So I'm a mom of 3 kids, and my degree is in elementary education. I started this business back in 2015, and I just felt that calling on my heart. My youngest was 3 years old, but I was kind of ready for something else. We weren't going to be having any more children, but I still absolutely loved working with kids, and I didn't want to go back to the classroom. And my passion had actually become cooking. I was getting quite good at it. I loved writing and creating recipes, and one day I just thought, what if I made a cooking school for kids? Back then, cooking shows for kids, they weren't really out there. So this was a really new idea. I told some people that I was like trying to feel confident to, and kind of everyone thought I was nuts. But Sprouts was born in my home. I turned a bedroom into a cooking school, put an ad on Facebook, and I think we sold out every single summer camp we had in 2 weeks. And it just kept growing, and I opened a storefront in 2017.
Yeah, well, that is an amazing story. And that just speaks to the power of passion and being brave to just put yourself out there.
Yeah, yes, a lot of grit. You have to have grit when you're in those early years. There's a lot of
Yeah.
fluffing things around.
Yes, yes. Well, I'm so glad that things have been kind of going on the up and up for you.
Yeah,
So let's start with this first question, because I think before we let our viewers ask questions, I'm going to start with a few of my own.
got it.
So, how do you get kids interested in cooking, as well as just with you in the kitchen?
I think I could speak to that with my own 3 children. I was in the kitchen and they wanted to be with their mom.
Uh-huh.
So I would find easy tasks that they could do. So say you're starting with a preschooler and you really want them to have that fundamental education. That starts at home, role modeled by parents or maybe siblings that love to cook. But I think when you're working with young chefs, one of the biggest tips that I have is to get them tools that are just their size. So that could mean Curious Chef. That's a fantastic brand of kids cooking tools. Maybe you get your child a safety knife. Maybe you get them their own apron. Just something that's exciting to them, to get them involved in the kitchen is how I did it. They love to be with their parents.
Yeah, no, that role modeling is essential. And I love that your passion's in the kitchen and they can feel that too. They want to be with you and they want to do what you're doing. So that's great. And so how about this? As I'm a behavioral pediatrician and I get this question as well as all my colleagues who are general pediatricians, picky eaters. Like,
Yeah.
how can you help ensure healthy eating while expanding their palate? Because some of those picky eaters just pick the same foods over and over again.
It is so true. And at Sprouts, our classes start as young as 3 years old, and we can have 200 kids through our doors every week. So we deal a lot with picky eaters. So it's definitely a topic I'm passionate about. And I do have a lot of tips. Number one, you need to involve your kids in the meal planning process. So for example, let's think we're talking about school lunch. I like to give kids maybe 1 to 2 ideas. So if we're talking lunch on Monday, well, are we going to have a turkey roll up? Or are we going to have, maybe it's a new food, and we can give them a choice between 1 to 2 items. I also think it's really important that you provide foods they're learning to like in different forms. Mm-hmm. So let's say they don't like raw carrots. Could you provide a cooked carrot in their lunch? Could you provide apples as applesauce? Could you show it to them in different ways or different shapes that perhaps they would be more inclined to try than the way you've been doing it over and over? Do they like broccoli, not like it raw or cooked? Could you put it in a soup? You want to really think about ways that you can provide learning to like foods in different ways. I do think that kids are more inclined to eat if they have the power to choose. So that's why I like including them in that meal planning process. I mean, I'm an adult. I don't really want you to choose every meal for me either. I want to have a say in what I'm eating. So by working through that meal plan as a family, you're going to have a better idea of what your child really wants. And then you can put in some of the things that you want them to eat as well. It's all about compromise with your children.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of dips. If your kid, you could do ketchup, ranch, hummus, guacamole. There's a variety of dips that will encourage your child to try different foods that maybe they wouldn't have. I also recommend trying just one new challenging food per week and limiting the quantity of that. So let's see, I have picky children sometimes too, and I'm not perfect. But my son, he does not like potatoes, which is weird. I'm Irish and I don't get it. So I may try a sweet potato or a regular potato, and I really limit the quantity to something he can feel successful at so that he gets that praise when trying the new food. I'm still going to always put it on his plate, even if he doesn't like it. I'm just going to try to give him a smaller portion than my girls might eat. And then let's just be real. Sometimes your kids really don't like something. A dye-free sprinkle can do wonders. Kids are super picky about yogurt. I never knew that. Put the sprinkle on it, suddenly their yogurt is gone. So there's still ways that you can just get food in them that, isn't what kind of a bit out of the box, and who knew, but sprinkles kind of solve a lot of problems for us.
Sprinkles. I mean, that's genius.
Yeah, I know. And you're really not adding that much sugar, and you get dye-free. And so
I love it. And can I get back to something that you just said about how you don't, you sort of give them the amount that they could still feel successful.
Yeah, I think that that's definitely important.
Yeah.
I remember as a kid, my parents sitting me down at the table and forcing me to eat a large quantity of something. And I didn't want to do that either. I don't want my kids to have that experience with food. But it is important that they learn to try new things. Each time you have an experience with food, you get more used to that taste on your palate. Mm-hmm. So you can incrementally add it, but definitely start with small portions of things. And you need the kids to be successful. Dinner table should not be a battleground.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I hear that all the time. So I take it, though, Stephanie, that you don't necessarily recommend that parents make a second meal for their child.
So I'm personally not a fan of that.
Uh-huh.
I did start feeding my kids what we would be eating when they were younger,
yep,
just so that they would have a palate for things that were similar to the food they would be eating as they got older. Mm-hmm. But I do think just give them little bits of what you're eating. If your kid just only wants chicken nuggets, can you do chicken in a different form that the whole family can eat? Mm-hmm. Can you grill chicken and then still provide them with the same familiar ketchup? Could you try even a baby step less than that? Could you make your own chicken nuggets and involve them with the process and then gradually get them familiar to a different texture? Because real chicken tenders and the ones in the freezer, those are not the same thing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
a lot of times it's a textural thing for children too. So just trying to find ways to expand their, mind, their palates, all of those things is helping
Yeah.
their little.
Yeah. What you're saying is that you're keeping it upbeat, you're keeping it fun. You
Yeah,
don't want it to become a battle because
no.
that's just the beginning of the end there. So,
When you say
uh,
stubborn child, we all know, we all
yeah.
have one of those,
Yeah.
right? That's just
Yeah.
not going to work.
Yeah. Well, so can you tell me a little bit about like the kids that come into your school and you see that maybe it's their first time in the kitchen? Like, what do you love about when you watch these kids like
So
do their thing with you?
yeah. So one of my favorite things to watch in our kitchen is how any new student comes in a little bit trepidatious. They're not quite sure what to expect. And by the end, they've made new friends. They're taking turns. They're trying something that's not familiar to them. We always have a rule at Sprouts. It's called a no thank you bite.
Uh-huh.
So you need to try it, and we're going to want you to try it. And if you don't like it, no, thank you. We understand. But it's just really rewarding to see kids, trying new things because the neighbor next to them is trying, something else. And then hearing the feedback from parents saying, they told me they would never try this food before, but somehow when you do it, they try it. And it's really just a new environment. And sometimes parents also have preconceived notions about what their children do and don't like.
Hmm.
But for us, we don't have those. So they feel like they can try a new food.
Yeah, and there is that power of peer pressure, so like you want
Sure.
to like conform to what everybody else is doing around there.
Maybe this
So,
is a good kind of peer pressure, though.
yeah, yes, it is the good kind. It is the good kind. Yeah, I love that. And I guess can you share maybe like if you're watching this for the first time and you're really getting excited about getting your child in the kitchen, like what is a couple recipes that parents could just do that would be easy, let's say with a toddler?
One recipe I love to do with preschoolers is guacamole. It's an easy guacamole. So we're not going to put any of the foods in it that aren't familiar to kids. So we're going to do avocado, garlic salt. They can tear the leaves for the cilantro to add
Mm.
those in.
Hmm.
And then we're just going to do lime juice. Kids have issues with onions and they have issues with tomatoes. Kids don't like the squishiness of tomatoes. And it grosses them out when they're cutting them. So, and we don't use fresh garlic. That's very spicy to young children.
Mm.
So it's just a really simple way to get them eating those healthy fats, a green food. Another thing is just to do smoothies. You can put a lot of vegetables in a smoothie that they're not going to be able to necessarily taste, but then they can see it going in there to say, well, that's not a scary food to me. Spinach isn't scary because I tasted it, and this pineapple tastes like pineapples, or this smoothie tastes like pineapples, not spinach. So you're able to get them familiar with food that they're adding without maybe the fear of a yucky food.
Ah, I love that because I have heard from families who are like, so are we supposed to sneak these things in there? But you're saying that if kids are going to be in the kitchen, you should show them what's in there.
I'm a big fan of showing them what's
Yeah.
in their food. Like if we're making a smoothie and it has spinach in it, I'm going to talk to them about how strong it's going to make them and, you know, how good it is for their health or their digestion. I'm going to explain the health benefits to them in a way that they'll understand.
Uh-huh.
Or maybe it's like a superhero character that they love. We used to do that with my son all the time. We would say, you know, Superman, he needs to eat his spinach too so that he can be strong. How much do you think he would eat? Let's put that much in your smoothie because you want to be strong like him too, don't you? So, it's playing on things that are familiar with them and just encouraging them through the process, letting them kind of guide. You're leading them,
Hmm.
letting them have control over it too.
Yeah. Well, so to the parents who you mentioned early on when we first started the show was that you might want to get some, kid-friendly cooking tools. What do
Mhm.
you say to parents who are like, I've never let them actually cut things or
Yeah. So when you're 9 years old at Sprouts, you get to use an actual chef knife. We use 6-inch chef knives because the blade is shorter, so it's easier for their dexterity.
Uh-huh.
Um, but we do have parents like, oh my gosh, they're going to cut themselves. So we sell cut gloves at our store. And if you've
Uh-huh.
ever been to like Chipotle and looked at the cooks down the line, It's a glove that you wear, and it really will protect your hand as you're cooking. So they're able to practice those knife skills without that fear that parents may have of their child getting injured. So if you're not 9 years old, it's a great time to practice those knife skills with a banana. That's the perfect one to do. It's soft, they can control it. But just really working on the fine motor skills involved in cooking is something that parents can definitely do.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And I think, do you have any tips for, and thank you for correcting me because that first question, I should have said preschoolers, but like, how about for the younger ones? Like, is a toddler too young to bring into the kitchen or keep by you while you're cooking?
Definitely not. I mean, I did it as a parent. And I think that as they're just learning new foods, it's an excellent time they can stir, they can mash. If your
Yeah.
child is old enough for safety scissors, do you have a garden? And could you say, could you go get me the parsley? And could they use those safety scissors and cut the parsley for you? It's, again, great for their fine motor skills. And as a busy mom, that was one of my favorite things to do with my kids because it takes so much focus. You know, you set the tablespoon right there. I want you to fill this with the parsley. You're going to get some time to cook peacefully if with your kids jobs like that. So that was one of my favorite as a mom of young kids.
Oh, I love that. I love that. And I remember just even bringing out like the Tupperware, the pot, and even like they could just pretend what they're doing.
Oh,
Like
I
they're,
know.
you know, mimicking you, even if they're not really doing it with you at that time. Yeah, but I think the lesson here is to start early, to start young,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
to make it fun, right?
I think so as well. I mean, we definitely see our kids 8 and younger really passionate about cooking. I see the fire lighting inside them at about 9 years old. That's when they're really able to be more independent. And I know it seems 9 is so young because, gosh, when I started this company, I thought that's how old my oldest daughter was. And I thought that was the right age. And now it's my baby that's 9. And I'm like, gosh, I can't believe you're old enough for a knife. But really starting them out young and seeing their passion as they grow is really cool to see.
Yeah, and do you have any other particular like products that you go to, like an essential for the child to, like a chef's hat or an apron or any of those things?
I mean, I definitely think it's cute to get like a monogrammed apron or maybe a little cookbook or something, that you could surprise them with that, like a chef knife. But there's so many great kids cooking products out there. I think, just getting them in there, they can use the stuff that you have at home too. You don't
Yeah.
have to go out there and spend money on kids cooking products. The only thing I really think your child does need is a safety knife.
hmm Thank you for that. Well, so how about this next question? Because I think for the viewers there, they might have questions related to, not just cooking with kids, but, mom goals, right? How do you juggle careers, mommyhood, healthy eating, and cooking at home? So tips for mompreneurs out there?
Yeah, so I mean, let's all acknowledge that being a working mom or a stay-at-home mom, any kind of mom, that's a lot of work and a lot of juggling. But
hmm
I can speak to my transition and going from a stay-at-home mom to owning a business. One thing I repeat back to myself all the time is I can have it all, but I cannot have it all at once. So I think as moms, oftentimes we're spread so thin that we feel like maybe we're not serving anybody to the best. We're giving as much as we can, but yet we still feel we're falling short. Um, One thing I really try to do is be very efficient and purposeful with my time. So, and I expect the same from my team as well. So I try to plan strategic planning meetings. And if you need me, you need to have a bulleted list of those things that you want to talk to me about because I need to give you my full attention in that time.
hmm
So I try to go in engaging in something I can give my full attention to. So if it's at home, you've got my attention. If it's at work, you've got my attention. But staying in that organized train of thought throughout my day really helps me. And then making sure that my communication is clear at the office, like what I'm able to give and, what my to-do list for the day would be.
hmm
Um, I think after we've all come off of 2020, and frankly, it still feels like we're living in it sometimes. I definitely struggled finding balance. I'm not sure that I believe in the word balance. I think it's whatever maybe it means to you, but I didn't take any time for myself at all. I felt like my kids needed me 100%. I felt like my company, I mean, let's be real, I owned a business during a pandemic. That sucked. How else do you say that? That was
Yeah.
really challenging. I had
Yeah.
a team of 14 women that depended on me. I was emotionally available to everybody all the time. And it took a toll on me. And so when I started this new year, I said, you know what? I'm back on that. I'm back on the burner too. Like I get something for myself. So I just try to honor the fact that if you ask me to do something for you, I'm going to show up for you every time and to the best of my ability. But I'm going to do that for myself now too. If I make a promise to myself, I'm going to deliver. So if it's working out 30 minutes a day, I'm going to do that. And I know I deserve that. And as moms, you deserve that too. You know, it's just hard to, when there's so many things pulling at you, make yourself a priority. But I think that's something that just became so important to me that I really had to make it in the top 5 this year.
Yeah, no, I hear you, and I'm so glad that uh, brought that up because I think so many of the families that I see either in my private practice or just, out and about in the community, uh, COVID has been really hard for everybody. Mental health issues are through the roof, and as parents, we always put our kids' needs first, but we absolutely cannot do what we want to do for them if we're not taking care of ourselves.
It's
So,
so true. And I heard that said so many times. But truthfully, I didn't think I could put myself first for a long time. And I think sometimes you just have to hit a brick wall of being like, I can't give anymore until I take something for myself too. And truthfully, I had 30 minutes. I had 30 minutes. And so it's just, I think, giving myself the permission to take that.
uh-huh.
And I think as women, maybe if more people say, I can read all the quotes, but maybe if I have like a real girlfriend saying, like, take that time, don't feel guilty about it. Other things can wait. Hearing that really made me feel that that was something I could do for myself too.
Yeah. And getting back to what you said first was that modeling piece. I mean, you're also modeling for your kids the importance of doing those things, not just feeding your body healthy food, but keeping your body healthy in other ways.
Yeah,
So,
and I think that there's so many components of that during this time that we really can be role modeling to our children. Like, how do we handle stress? What are they seeing in us? How are they seeing, like, if they're stressed out with school and their personal life, how are they seeing us juggle work and personal life?
yes.
If we're so stressed out with our careers, then are they going to be so stressed out with school? Like, is that what we're modeling? And I'm by no means perfect at that, but I did take a hard look at how much the stress was rolling over into other areas of life. And, taking that time for myself or just openly admitting to my family, this is going to be a hard day for mom. I'm going to need to be pulled somewhere else. I want you to know. And then as soon as I'm back, you've got me. But being honest with my family too about the pressures of a career, it helps us. And then it helps too if my husband understands this is not going to be a great week. I will be pulled. How can we work together to figure out our schedules so that we can juggle kids that are not in? My kids are hybrid. How
Hmm.
can we juggle that together? But it takes for my family a ton of communication daily.
Yeah.
We look at our week and then micro, we look at our day, and
Yeah.
it's planning it that way.
Wow. Yeah. Well, I'm hearing you've said it throughout this whole episode, communication, collaboration, role modeling, making things fun, and, just keeping that priority as, the family when you're home, and then, the business sort of just, again, being there for yourself too and
One time
communicating.
I heard this quote that I love: wherever your feet are, be.
Oh,
If your feet are at work,
uh-huh.
if your feet are at home, be.
Yeah.
Stay where your feet are. And I think I try to live by that so that I can be the best that I can be wherever my feet are.
Yeah, I love that. It's like, living, be present, where you are in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Well, I have one more question.
Okay.
So we were just talking about busy parents, and I know both you and your husband are working full time.
Mm-hmm.
And so, is it even possible for meal planning and busy parenthood to coexist in the same sentence?
It's 100% possible and something I live and die by. If I did not meal plan, we would be eating carry out every meal. I don't have time to do it day by day. So here is what I do on Sundays. I sit down. I have a list of things that I want to do. Maybe there's 6 or 7 recipes. I'm going to throw them out to my husband and my kids. I'm going to say, which of these items would you like for the week? Or is there something else that you would rather? So I plan our dinners Monday through Thursday. Friday is always pizza night. And then we're traveling a lot. My kids play competitive soccer, so we're gone a lot of the weekends.
Mm-hmm.
But if I can commit to Monday through Thursday, that really helps set the trajectory of organization in our household, harmony with all the things going on. So I do plan breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And I just put my recipe right in front of me. And I know it's like, now everyone's ordering groceries. I've always ordered my groceries online. I do not have time to go to the store. I love that my favorite products are already saved in my highlight. I get my groceries delivered.
Mm-hmm.
And if I don't get them delivered, I pick them up at Kroger. I can be sending emails in the parking lot. I can be doing whatever I need to do. But grocery shopping is not something that I feel is the best use of my time. But meal planning is. So I also like to look at our day as a whole. Are the kids going to be at soccer till 8:30 and am I at work until 7:30? That's a crock pot night.
Mm-hmm.
How can I do that? Could I wake up 30 minutes earlier and get that done? And then we have a home cooked meal. We eat at different times just due to my kids' schedules, but we find a way to make it work. But if you could commit to Sunday nights, getting your groceries so that they'll be delivered Monday morning, that would be my number one tip in just being able to put healthy food on your table.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I love that you, again, invite your husband and your kids to sort of voice their opinion about what's going to be on the table.
Well, it's necessary because I would pick like things that they don't always like. I would eat a mashed cauliflower. They will not. So I'm always trying to like throw that one in there because, got to watch your carbs as you get older, right? So it's important that I do because, after you've worked all day, made dinner, don't you just want to hear like that tasted good? So I definitely want to involve them so that like it's a nice table to sit around. I don't want to hear you didn't like it again or something.
Yeah, yeah, no, but it's again really crucial. And I love that you stick to that, you make that your routine so that you can commit to having those 4 home cooked dinners and then also you have the breakfast and lunches ready to go.
And typically I will take my lunch to go. Like I make enough. So if the recipe calls for a pound of meat, just as an example, I'll do 1 1/4. That way I package my lunch to go at the time that I'm cleaning up from dinner. So it goes directly into my thing for lunch. I know exactly what I need to do. I can get out the door super quickly. It's just something that helps me. And I know that I've gotten in at least 2 veggies in my dinner. So I know that my lunch is therefore going to be healthy for me the next day.
Yeah, yeah. Well, good for you. This is amazing. These were great tips for busy parents who want to promote that healthy eating, healthy nutrition, and getting their kids in the kitchen. So, the last thing that I wanted to ask you was it sounds like during your classes, you're teaching kids not only some of the technique, but
Yeah.
also just about the food in general and making it fun. But so if people are watching this and they're like, I want my child to go to Sprouts Cooking School. Like, where can they find you, or what information do you have right now? Any specials or things that?
Yes. So our website, sproutscookingschool.com, would have all of our course offerings. You book everything via our website. We launched our summer camps a couple of weeks ago. We have tons of different themes. So, I mean, if your child loved baking, there's plenty to choose from. If they want summer favorites, they want that like farm fresh kind of food, there's a camp for that too. So we have a ton of camps to choose from. We start in June and go through August. We'd love to have your kids, and our April and May classes are releasing next week too.
Wow. Wow. I can't imagine what sort of planning goes into all of that. A lot.
My head hurts sometimes. I actually program all of those onto the website myself. So it takes like a solid 48 hours of communicating to other people. Mommy is going to be in her room for 24 hours programming hundreds of events.
Oh my goodness. But I'm sure that they're always well attended, all fun, all worth it. And it's just a lot of fun to just sort of welcome new chefs through the door.
Yes,
So,
very
yeah.
rewarding for sure.
Well, thank you so much for your time today. And before we go, I do want to let our viewers know my next guest next week is Olivia Roney, owner and founder of Crouching Tigers. And we're going to be talking martial arts and storytelling with kids. So, with that being said, I just want to recap. So, you need to promote cooking, healthy eating habits as early as possible. If you're passionate about cooking, your kids are going to feel that passion and want to do that with you. Involve them in decisions, giving them, acceptable choices with meal planning as well as during meal times. And then, moms, if you are feeling like you've got some big dream out there, you can do it and still do healthy meals, healthy meal planning, and balance your kind of balance, right? You got to have just open communication with your spouse and your family throughout the whole thing. And it's okay to prioritize you
Mhm.
too. Yep. All right. Well, thank you so much. So, if you have any suggestions for future topics or guests, please feel free to reach out to me at letstalkkidshealth@gmail.com. Drop me a comment below or message on social media. And remember, consider subscribing to my YouTube channel, Nurse Bauer MD, to be alerted when I go live each week or follow my Facebook blog page.